Hi, this is Charlie Mato-Toyela with Blue Bear Flutes, and of course our website, bluebearflutes.com. Don't forget to check out our Instagram. That's probably my favorite thing to do, is to check out and see what our Instagram looks like, because my wife usually is the one that posts the pictures, and she's a great photographer. Anyway, this is a flute kit from a customer who's having a difficulty, and I say it's a flute kit. It could be one of the flute blanks he's made, because he said he's made several, and he's had the same problem over and over again. The problem he described was that some of the fingerings won't sound, and I'm pretty sure I have an idea of what's causing that problem. I've heard this from other people, and that's the reason I wanted to make this quick video on what to do when the fingerings don't sound if you're trying to make a Native American flute. So, let's see what's in the box here. My customer's name is Dwight. He's super nice to allow me to make a video demonstrating what it takes to make this thing here work, which I really appreciate, and hope that it helps some other people out who might be having a similar issue. Okay, let's see if that's enough. Probably not going to reuse this box anyway, so. Let's see what I have here. Okay. Wow, it's sanded really nice. I see he was burning some of the holes, and I do believe I see what the problem is already. Now, I will tell you right off, there was a time back in the day when I used to make my flat section of the flute just like this right here. I used to use like a small belt sander or a sanding drum on my drill press, and I would kind of go up and push it this way and come back out. It's a good way to do it, as a matter of fact, so I recommend that highly. Looks like he had a little crack or something going on here, but the problem is, for the diameter of the flute, the length of this track is a little bit too much. Or excuse me, the length of the sound hole. The track, you can make it as long as you want to, as long as it's adequate and has a nice smooth surface, it'll be okay. But the sound hole itself is way too long for how wide it is. Historically, there were actually flutes that were kind of like this. I've seen them, and you know, so it's a possibility, but this should be a real easy fix for me. I would like to test it and see what it sounds like. I have an idea what it's going to do. Let's put this squeezy clamp on it. So they sound really airy, and that's probably because of the length, as well as the fact that the air is trying to jump over and accurately hit that sound edge. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of lightly sand the inside of the sound edge, simply because I can see it's rough inside of there. And this will help that problem a little bit. Looks like I've got it quite a bit already. Just some rough pieces of fiber in there. That's why I like to use burning tools, not only because it's quicker and because charred wood doesn't allow water to condense as much, but it also cleans it up really well. So there's that part. The next part, you actually can find the answer to in a video I've got called Repairing a Track That's Too Deep or Too Long. And I will have to use a burning tool to come back and clean this up. Whoops! Sorry about that, Dwight. Anyway, little comedy in my morning routine here. My hands are kind of chilly too, because it's a little bit brisk out this morning. But anyway, so what I've done is I've taken the length of the sound hole and made it a little smaller. That's how you make a hole smaller. So the next thing I'm going to do is, using my burning tool, I'm going to get that flat again, which he had a really good flat track there. That is the reason it sounded dull. And having that flat track makes such a world of difference. He did an incredible job. I should probably ask him how he did that without using a burning tool. It's obvious that he didn't burn the track in. I do, as I mentioned in more recent videos, use a milling machine these days, but that's technical, and you guys don't need to think that you have to have that kind of equipment. Let's see what it's good up in there. There's a seam over here, and I might put some glue on the inside of that seam. That will also help out greatly in case there is a massive air leak going on. we'll know if it has an air leak too, because the glue usually seeps out a little bit in the process. I didn't use as much as that probably seemed. There was quite a bit less glue in there too than it looked like. Okay. I think we're looking good there. And then after this, the next part of the process is going to be tuning it, which will be pretty quick. Tuning it, we'll start by cutting probably about this much off. The length of the flute on our flute making kits, if this is one of our kits, which I believe it is, it's been sanded a lot and the mouthpiece shaped a little differently than on the custom tube, but I think it's a flute kit. The length is such that you can make like an A flat flute in 432 Hertz if you decide to tune it that way. The reason I do that is because not everybody wants a 440, not everybody wants an A. You know, you can adjust this, and just like making a guitar from a guitar making kit, it's not going to be tuned when you put it together. It's going to be tuned after you tune it. Some people ask me, are your flute kits already tuned? And it's physically impossible to pre-tune something that hasn't been built yet. I mean, just the logic on that. Now, Dwight didn't ask me that I remember, but I've had people ask me that even today. I know why they're asking. It's because someone else out there is offering a flute kit that they say is pre-tuned, which if they've made flutes for over a year, they know better. But whatever sells their products. Not putting them down, just their techniques. My burning tool needs to be remade, so I just clicked some of the rough steel off of it. I think I'm going to give it a shot here and see what happens. The track's not exactly the way I want it yet, but I bet it sounds a little different. Let's see what that does. It's really close to being the way I want it. I'm just going to clean the track's edges up a little bit. That's one of the major reasons I use burning tools. That, and like I said, charred wood usually doesn't retain water or soak it up, which is nice. And fire does a really good job of cleaning up things like that. So, a little bit of file. A little bit of file here to scrape into it to make sure it's nice and flat and level. All I'm doing is using the end of this, which you don't even have to use a file for this part. You can just use something that's a nice. What I'm doing is I'm just gently scraping the shape of that track a little flatter, just to try to clean it up a little bit. And I'm going to burn this sound edge just a little bit more, just to kind of help out. And then we're going to tune it really quick and be done. Okay, grab a tuning rod here. Now, right now, it's kind of cool in my shop. It's actually 57 degrees. Because I turned the heater off, which is a little noisy when it starts up, so that it doesn't detract from our video we're trying to make here. I'm going to just squeezy clamp this guy back on. We're going to take it over to the bandsaw and chop off the end of it. So you guys can watch that and see what it sounds like on the tuner real quick here. Uh-oh. Oops. Maybe that's me. How flat this track is very important as well. And sometimes in the process of redoing it, some of the glue may stand up. So you got to think about that too. Let's see where we're at here. That note is not the correct note, but we'll be okay. Just making sure that it's playing. The hole is a little wider than what I like to do on an A flute, but we'll leave it at that for a moment. Showing a G right now, which is kind of like an A432. Believe it or not, the length of the flute will change the tone of it a little bit. It's probably at about an A flat right now, or G sharp. And I'm just going to chop off this last little bit here. I do like to cut it a little less than what I think it probably needs, and I'll just sand the rest of it off. Although at 57 degrees, that probably is 440A right there. Now, oftentimes people ask me, does the shape of the inside of the flute make a big difference? It does on tuning, but sound, it makes this much difference. I mean, it's the rounder something is, and the more smooth it is inside, and the more sealed the pores are inside, the better it's going to sound. This is a little oval, possibly because the blank that I sent him may not have ran through my machine deep enough. One way you can combat this is to sand it before you put it together, which is kind of in the instructions, but a lot of us are anxious to do this and don't, do that kind of thing as much. So I'm going to grab a Dremel. Now, one thing I will tell you is that Dwight has already sanded the inside of his flute, probably with a burning or a sanding rod, kind of like this one here. I'm just going to go back a little bit to make sure it's nice and smooth. That's probably enough. Let's see if we're still close to A, which, with that very little bit, I'm sure we are. There we go. It's actually in tune already. So bottom note's a little flat in compared to the other notes, but we'll just sand a pinch more off of that, and then I'll see if it plays nice and soft here. I do, by the way, have videos to tell you what to do if you take too much of the bottom of your flute off, and say the bottom note was a kind of flat A. This part's mainly for presentation, just to make the bottom of it look a little nicer and rounder. So the inside is not that bad, but close to this end feels a little squashed. We'll see. I think it sounds pretty good to me. I think he already burned the mouthpiece out, it looks like. A little bit more never hurts. But that's really all it was. Basically, the length of the sound hole there was too much, and it was hard to direct the air to go right across the edge as we needed it to. So I hope this helps everybody out. Like I said, it's a pretty simple task. Sometimes it's those that evade us the most, and also the ones that are the easiest to fix, are staring us right in the face. So, like I said, I hope this helps out. Don't forget to check out our other videos. We have hundreds of videos on making and playing the Native American flute. And this is Charlie Mato-Toyela again, signing out for BlueBearFlutes.com and Blue Bear Flutes all over the web. Make sure you check us out.